Hey everyone. Today we're going to go through airfoil design applications, just buzz through the process briefly so everybody's on the same page with how to do it. As an overview, the plan is to go to this website here, pick an airfoil that goes along with an airplane that you enjoy, and then do some background research related to that aircraft, plot that aircraft's airfoil layout using the airfoil generator, load that into Excel, scale it up by a factor of 4, throw that data into Inventor, connect all those points with the Spline Tool, and then uh, include a screenshot of that part file that you'll generate in with this document when you upload back to Schoology. So let's jog through how to do that. So we're over here, we have the incomplete guide to airfoils. I like the Supermarine Spitfire. Notice it's NACA number 2213. I recommend you stick with either 4 or 5 digit NACA numbers just to make your life a little bit easier. I'm going to stick with the root of the wing, 2213, just to keep my life simple. I've gone over here to our airfoiltools.com. I went to my NACA 4-digit generator because I know I'm dealing with a 4-digit airfoil. I put in my first digit was a 2, so 2% camber. Second digit was a 2, 20% max camber position. And then 2213, my thickness was 13%. I pushed plot. And this is the resulting airfoil plot, 2213. I've got 81 points here on my plot. We could scale it down a little bit to make life a little easier later if you like. I recommend you keep a fair number of points. The more points you have, the more accurate your drawing will be later, but you don't need to go crazy. That being said, we'll copy all these points from over here on our .dat file. I want to copy them to the clipboard, and I'll come over here to Microsoft Excel where you'll notice I've already got something loaded up that I'll just close out real quick. So I'll pull up a new Excel file, and I'll paste in the data. One thing to notice, the data all came in into the first column. That's not desirable. What I need to do is I need to come over to my Data tab. I need to go Text to Columns. I need to separate the data out into multiple columns. I'm going to use what's called a delimiter to allow Excel to interpret which column begins where. So I'm going to go Delimited next. I want to make sure I have space selected as a delimiter, so when it sees spaces, Excel will know that that triggers the start of a new column. You'll see it's already showing me what it's going to do when I finish the process. So I'll press Next, Finish, and notice it split all that data from one column into a whole series of columns here. The most important being the X and Y columns for the points. So, next step. If I brought this into Inventor, I'd end up with a chord length of 1 inch. I'd like to scale this up by a factor of 4, so I have a chord length of 4 inches. So I'm going to define a scale factor, and I'd like that to be defined by the number 4. Now what I need to do is I need to multiply each point by that scale factor to begin scaling it up. So I'll start off with an equal sign. I want the data from column B2, cell B2. I'm going to multiply that by my scale factor in cell E3. Now when I do that, I always want it to pull from cell E3, so I'll use dollar signs at the beginning of E and at the beginning of the 3, so $E, $3, and I'll press Enter. That should give me that point scaled up by a factor of 4. I can click the little corner here to drag that over to the next column. Notice now I've got data from cell C2, and I'm still pulling from cell E3. Alright, so now I'll highlight those two. I want to copy this down the down the column, and so now I've applied that scale factor to all of my data points. So now I have my data scaled up by a factor of 4. If I were right now to plot this, so I'll go Insert Scatter Plot. Notice I have roughly the shape I'm looking for. I could adjust this a little bit. This is roughly the right shape. Lets me know I'm on the right track. Once I have this scaled up data, what I want to do is I want to pull up a new Excel file. Whoop, notice I just tried to paste the data in. It didn't work. Here's why. What I have in these cells are formulas. I don't want to paste the formulas, I just want to paste the values from the formulas. So I click up here, I right click up, I must not have remembered to press the copy button. Control C to copy, go over here, I want to paste, I just want to paste values. So I pasted all the values in here. Now I'm going to save this file so that way I have this for later. I'm going to save it as Airfoil Demo Values. I recommend you save the other file as well. This file we've been working with and doing our processing, just so you have it for reference. Once you have those values saved in an Excel file, you want to come over to Autodesk, pull open a new part. You want to start a new sketch. I recommend you pick the XY plane. Come over to points. We're going to insert points from an Excel file, just the one where we just had those X and Y values, none of that extra stuff. And notice I pulled in a series of points that look roughly like an airfoil shape. There is a way to shortcut this process and make this go faster. If you can figure it out, excellent. Otherwise, this is the long way around. This is the best way to go. So I'm coming up here. I went to my Spline Tool. I want interpolation. So what this is going to do is to try to pick a point between the 2 points that I define, and if it doesn't know what to do, it's trying to interpolate and figure out what would be the best position to run an arc through or a spline through. And so notice I'm just going along. I'm clicking all of the points. These are all the points I want to connect the spline to. And this is kind of a tedious process. I recommend you sit down and without a lot of distractions around, just clicking the centers of each of these points. Notice as you get toward the trailing edge, it's harder to find the right spot. Then press the check mark to get things going. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do that one more time along the bottom of the wing section here. Clicking the centers of these points, you can see the green dot activate, letting you know that you've got the center of that point. When you see the yellow dot, you don't necessarily have it right at the very center. I'm going to use my center click button on my mouse wheel to be able to drag the screen along. There we go. If you don't have a real mouse to do this with, I recommend you use a real mouse. I have some in class you're welcome to borrow to use for this exercise. Now, as I'm getting down to the end, I haven't made any mistakes, so let me just show you what would happen if I made a few mistakes here. I clicked in the wrong spots. Do I have to start over? Not necessarily. So I'll just finish off my spline here. And you notice it's tried to figure out what I wanted it to do based on these points that I applied. I didn't want them there, so let's click on them. If I right-click on that point, I can come down here and I can say, where to go? I can say delete. I can right-click on that point I didn't want. I can say delete. Notice it's straightening out as I delete these points that I didn't want. I delete those points I don't want. The spline went back to the way it's supposed to. That looks nice. What do I do here at the trailing edge? Well, I just want to connect the line from point to point at the trailing edge, just so that way I close off that surface. Now I've got all my points connected. I push the Finish Sketch button. What next? I push Extrude. I extrude to 4 inches. Boom. That should have a solid object here, a nice airfoil section. That's how you model the airfoil section in Autodesk.